Derby Arena. I am so excited. Suki, we talked about this bout. Super excited to get things going, and we will begin introductions right now. Suki, I'll turn it over to you if you'd like to introduce our first team from the near bench right here.
Awesome. We've got the Coffin Draggers. Who's here for the Coffin Draggers? Real quick. All right. I expect. Okay, I can't. I'm dead, I think. Can you hear me? Can somebody tell me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hang on a second. Al talks louder than Suki. Suki can't. Yeah, hang on a second. I was going to say, Suki can't introduce the Coffin Draggers if you can't hear, or hold the phone.
All right. Is this any better? Can you hear me any better? Woo! Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it with the Coffin Draggers. We've got number.
Wait.
Whoops. I was getting so excited.
You're still stuck in tournament mode.
I'm still pumped. Yes, exactly. At Roller Rage, everything moves so darn fast. So, okay. So let's give them a minute here. The Coffin Draggers.
As we mentioned, the
Oh. All right, so for the Coffin Draggers, we've got number 23, Murder Mittens. Number 30, Zora La Bruja. Number 96, All of You Die. Number 300, Dolly Spartan. Number 333, Bed Bugs Bunny. Number 666, Strange. 710, Mofasta. Number 835, Scarin' Jaeger. Number 1312, Ricky D. Bones. 2011, Colette Razor Cat. 7780, Pee Wee Vermin. And as your co-captain, we've got number 18, Embezzlement. And number 616 is your captain, Antifa. Coaches for the Coffin Draggers this evening is Grantchilla and Gare Bear.
And taking the track from the far bench in burnt orange, rusty orange, it's the Doomsday Valkyries. Skating tonight for the Doomsday Valkyries, number 5, debuting for the Valkyries tonight, Motion Sickness. Number 34, Pretty Hurt Machine. Number 22, Lightning. Number 98, Blair Bitch. Number 007, Clutch Cannon. Move that 7, number 070, Invader Slim. Number 101, Hurricane May. Number 113, Dahlia Murder. Number 131, Muerta. Number 401, Audimus Prime. Number 626, Remy Ruckus. Number 816, Kansas City. Number 925, Evil Twin. Number 669, Nikki Badass. And captain of the Doomsday Valkyries this evening, number 73, Cheryl's. Coaches tonight for the Doomsday Valkyries, the father-daughter duo of Infidel Castro and NC Jammer. All right, we are all set to go. Why don't you turn your mic on and talk a little bit, see if I got that feedback problem figured out.
All right, let's see if
there
we
go.
can.
Are we good?
I think
we
I'm
can
good.
both talk at the same time? Okay,
I
good.
think
Perfect.
we're good,
All right,
yeah.
great. Yep. I'm an amateur AV person. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I can adjust microphone levels, so we're all good now. Yeah, just Al talks quieter, louder than you.
Yes, I know. I need to work on that whole projection thing.
Right. Well, but that's why they make microphones. It's beautiful. It's this thing called volume equalization. It's cool. They have a thing called an equalizer. All right, we are ready to go. 60 minutes of Derby action to help clarify the playoff picture. Nothing is for certain here, unless if the Draggers were to lose, they'd be locked into the 3 seed. So that is the only certainty that can come of this evening. If the Draggers win, then nothing is settled for our playoff scenario. It's going to be Dolly Spartan as the first jammer for the Draggers, Hurricane May for the Doomsday Valkyries. May to the high side. May is out. They blocked Dolly off to the infield. Hurricane May is out, and your first lead jam is the Doomsday Valkyries.
Yeah, and it looks like Dolly Spartan there is finally out of the pack and moving around for a scoring pass. Hurricane May is stuck there at the back of the pack, takes a little bit of a tumble, but is making their way through and calls it off before Dolly has a chance to meet up.
May was weaving through the pack, kind of tried to back in and get around Scary Yeager there. Listening in, penalty on Lightning early on here in the early going.
And it looks like we've got Strange on the line for the Coffin Draggers and Invader Slim for the Valkyries.
That's right. 3 points for the Valkyries to get the scoring going here in the early process of this game. Slim is to the front. Strange passed that star so fast I didn't even see it.
That was quick.
I saw the star come off, and then I was just about to wait a second as you're supposed to do, and boy, that was fast. Meanwhile, it was Murder Mittens, and Murder Mittens gets knocked off to the infield, and we've got lead change.
Yes.
Lead jam change. Invader Slim takes over as lead jammer. Yes, if you're joining us from Bank Track, that's a thing if you don't know about it. I'm sorry, joining us from Flat Track, sorry, that's a thing. In Bank Track Derby is lead jammer changes, and it's about to almost change back. We just about had it change back. Invader Slim gets back up and reestablishes just in time to call it off before re-surrendering lead jam back to Murder Mittens. Everybody's watching to see if there's any jammer penalties right now.
That was a lot. That was a lot going on.
All right, so that ends up being an 8-point jam for the Doomsday Valkyries and a 6-point jam for the Coffin Draggers. And a very, very late coming in arms penalty on Invader Slim. It's an early power jam for the Coffin Draggers.
And we've got a lot of personnel changes. Draggers going down, Valkyries going down.
We're going to have an official timeout to discuss a little of the penalty goings on. Yeah, with a late jammer penalty falling in that late.
Oh, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge. All right, so, well, early challenge to see if the Doomsday Valkyries can avert this early power jam. So the score here after 2 jams, Valkyries 11, Coffin Draggers 6. That's a whole lot of points in 2 jams in Bank Track Roller Derby. We'll take a stoppage in play and get to some of our sponsors.
If you haven't had a chance to go over to the merch booth, please be sure to visit them to get your favorite league and team merchandise, as well as a cold beverage or a snack. There's brand new t-shirt designs from your favorite teams, and check out the discounted merch. This is also where you can get your souvenir cups for the night. So grab some keychains, tote bags, patches, and more.
We got one of our vendors down there by the front door where the silent auction is. That's Psychic of Levine. Psychic of Levine, excuse me. Psychic spiritual insight with incense, sage, crystals, candles, palm readings, tarot card reading, and so forth. Psychic of why can I not say that? I am sorry to butcher the name of your extremely descriptively named business. I mean, Psychic of Levine. I am sorry I butchered that twice. Psychic of Levine is down in the vendor village. If there's any proof that we are cold reading everything on the broadcasts without any prep, that's what I do. I came from 9 years of Sun Sounds of Arizona, and I only liked reading the live programs. There's no stakes in recording. You can go back and fix your mistakes. I'm like, please, that's boring.
Live is way more fun. Way more fun.
I refuse to volunteer for a volunteer news reading service for the blind unless there is better stakes involved. Sorry, I'll read for your volunteer organization for just short of 10 years until I nearly drop from sepsis, but only if it's exciting.
Right.
These are my demands.
Because almost dropping from sepsis is not exciting in any way, shape, or form. But you redeemed yourself. You said it twice, and I'll say it again. Psychic of Levine.
All right.
There we go.
We also, once again, wanted to thank our volunteer medics for this evening. That's James and Jace down on the infield. Thank you so much. Our volunteer medics, as we mentioned before, if you are a medic or know somebody who is, we're always looking for medics for our volunteer medic team. They help us keep the bouts going and in progress. Anyway, our volunteer medic team always looking for more bodies to help us keep those skaters on the track. If injuries occur, help them get addressed, but also help us fulfill a legal need for licensed medics at our contact sport. So talk to us during the break. We have, after the Power Jam, my goodness, it is a penalty overturned. Challenge successful by the Doomsday Valkyries.
And that doesn't happen very often.
It does not. I would say probably, 7 out of 10. I'd say maybe 3 out of 10, maybe even less.
I think so, yeah, because I know most of the challenges I see
often not,
are
yeah.
not
It
successful.
was an illegal call-off on Invader Slim for getting back up on the track and calling it off. So basically, the regulators initially said that she did not do it properly, and then it was overturned after discussion. So no Power Jam, 11-6 in this high-scoring bout so far.
And we're back in it. The Coffin Draggers have All of You Die out there as their jammer. Invader Slim, is that Invader Slim?
That's,
no, Hurricane May.
For
My
the Doomsday
apologies.
Valkyries, bouncing up and down the wall and getting knocked to the infield by that Coffin Dragger defense. Now takes advantage of the blockers turning their attention to All of You Die, who completes the scoring pass. And May passes the star forward to Muerta. So Muerta's going to take over as jammer for the Doomsday Valkyries. All of You Die racing back to the pack.
Yeah, Olive's definitely looking to score some more points there before Muerta makes it. And it looks like she might have been successful on that one right before calling it off. And we've got Dolly Spartan up for Coffin Draggers and Invader Slim for the Valkyries. Just waiting for the go-ahead here. All right, we're off in this jam. Looks like Invader Slim is going to be our lead jammer, but Dolly Spartan's coming. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Did we have a change there? No, that's still Dolly Spartan. Okay. I was getting confused. I saw the star coming on and off, and I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, we've had the star pass has been utilized frequently by both teams here in the early going, so strategery happening.
Absolutely.
No points for either side. The Draggers did leap in front, 12-11 in the early going, so it's our first scoreless jam here. That's Muerta on the jammer line now for the Valkyries, starting on the jammer line for the first time.
And we've got Strange, number 666 for the Coffin Draggers, going high, then going low, then going to the middle, looking for a way around some of that orange.
Strange is going to get to the front of the pack, crash into a blocker, now going to get it blocked into the rail, overcomes 2 blockers, gets up, and is able to take off. What an effort out of Strange to get by Nikki Badass and Hurricane May at the front of that
Absolutely,
pack. Lead jam for the Coffin Draggers.
Muerta's still at the back of the pack there, trying to get around some dragger blockers there as Strange is coming around for scoring.
And now Strange up to the front of the pack is going to get, Strange takes a shoulder from Nikki Badass right in the chest.
Yeah, good defense by Nikki on that one.
Absolutely. Well-timed block by Nikki Badass right in front of us. Somebody just got blasted down there in the infield. Wow. One of the blockers for the Doomsday Valkyries has a motion sickness. Welcome to the league.
Right.
And here comes Muerta. Finally, Muerta gets out. The calling off signal from the bench for the Coffin Draggers brings to an end a very physical jam. Well then.
They've all been really physical so far. Bodies are just flying around, tumbling. You can tell this is an important game.
All right, after discussion, ends up being a 5-point jam there. They got the jammer for the Coffin Draggers, 17-11. Star right off from All of You Die. Evil Twin along the inside, able to get past Olive, who was kind of trying to throw a block while trying to get that star in her hand securely, and Twin gets by for the Valkyries. Here comes Olive now, taking off down the back straightaway, throwing that star on her helmet, catching up. Olive definitely one of the fastest skaters in the league by far. Evil Twin tries to jump the coping. Excellent block by the pivot. Has to get up to reestablish and calls it off. Murder Mittens with a well-timed block. That's the thing, is you get a coping jump, you just got to get one pretty good clip in, and you can absolutely wreck it because their momentum is going to carry them right back up and
Absolutely.
through. So, 3 points, however, for Evil Twin. So, did not get that last point, but 17-14, Coffin Draggers.
And we've got Hurricane May for the Valkyries and Dolly Spartan for the Draggers.
Both of them are kind of tied up, middle of the pack, trying to find an
Yeah, this is a really
opening.
tight pack. Really tight.
Yeah, good block by there on the inside of that wall of 4 blockers for the Draggers. Now a Dragger's going to go forward, try to help Dolly. Dolly's dealing with a 3 wall. And there we are. Both packs, both halves of the pack were trying to get
we got a
declared,
jammer race now.
We do, getting out and taking off.
Let's see if Dolly is able to actually score some points before May comes up behind, but it's so close.
May thinks she got points on the back end. It was right in front of us. And we'll find out what the referees think as our
Yes, the regulators are the last word in those points, so regardless of who puts
That's
up
right.
a
Look
fingers.
at that. Hurricane May does get the points on the pursuit. Like we said, that's why you skate through the whistle, kids. 4 points for the Coffin Draggers, 3 for the Valkyries. May was close enough that by the time Dolly finished making the signal and the whistle could be, and there's a delay, there's a baked-in delay of 1 to 2 seconds, May had gotten by to get points. So kind of a net of 1 for the Draggers. This jam, we've got Invader Slim out there for the Valkyries, who is out and clear once again.
And Strange is out there for the Coffin Draggers trying to get through the pack. There's a couple of Valkyrie blockers back there. It looks like Lightning, and I can't see the back of the other jersey there, but they're holding them back pretty successfully from getting out.
Yeah,
Invader Slim's coming around again, so.
The Doomsday Valkyries are trying to turn this into a de facto power jam. They've got those skaters pinned at the back. Now Slim coming in, and Slim incidentally hits the wall right in a weak spot and kind of shatters it. That was just sort of the way it happened. Slim hit that jammer, hit Strange, and knocked Strange loose. Up in the front of the pack, that's Strange getting blocked off to the infield hard. Took a hard shot. Strange gets up and has to stop and was going to put the star back on, and the clock expires.
The Draggers do a good job at holding back the Valkyries jammer there towards the end.
Yeah, we jumped
lessening
out.
that damage.
Yeah, so the Valkyries, 8 points, 1.5 scoring passes. Excellent offensive output there, 25-21. Valkyries jump in front. Be about 6:30 to go in the first quarter when this whistle blows.
And we've got Muerta for the Valkyries, and we've got All of You Die for the Draggers. Both
Olive
going in hot.
I was going to say, Olive just got routed off to the infield. Nikki Badass just came out of nowhere to do that. Muerta around the outside and is clear. Muerta is not a heavy rotation jammer for the Valkyries early in games from what I've seen and watching a lot of home team bouts. So this is an interesting strategy with them having their usual fleet of jammers available otherwise. We have, you know what? NC Jammers on the bench. There you go. Answer to the question. Meanwhile, Hurricane May is up there in the front and is going to wipe out a blocker, and Muerta signals to call it off. Yeah, that's why. I had to think about it. When you call enough home team games, you pretty much know what each team's top jammer rotation is. You get used to calling the names.
Absolutely.
So it took me 2 seconds to place it with the Valkyries.
Well, the Valkyries have a couple of subs tonight, one of which is Evil Twin.
That's right.
Who's on the jammer line right now.
And it's going to be Dolly Spartan for the Coffin Draggers. Valkyries put 4 more points on the board. Early going. We have a challenge flag.
There's a flag.
It is, I believe that's the Valkyries again? It is. Valkyries are going to reuse that challenge they got back. You do get your challenge back when you win it, so Coach Infidel Castro, getting some arm work in, is going to use that challenge again. Why not see if they can go 2 for 2? So I thought I saw the Valkyries jammer fainting for the helmet cover, so there may have been a late jammer penalty that we hadn't heard yet. We'll have to wait and see, of course. So 29-21 with 5:36 to go in the first quarter.
And there's a little bit of discussion down there. And in the meantime, if you haven't checked it out, check out the silent auction going on in the lobby by the front door. There is a Raya Riot tattoo gift certificate, a Lost Dutchman tattoo gift certificate, Tempe Bard gift card bundle, which is 3 cards. Final round, $25. Let's see, there's... September's bar, they're all 25. Okay, so all 25 here. And then we've got Goat Yoga and Siphon Draw Skincare Bundle.
3 different bars.
3 different bars are actually giving out $25 gift cards. Go bid on that. Silent auction right there at the front.
As the challenge continues, we will let you know about our upcoming action here at the Hall of Dames. The Chingadera tournament, of course, is going to be coming up in 3 weeks. That is the 3rd weekend of February. And the national travel teams for the other leagues will be coming here for a tournament. Of course, Battle on the Bank, the national championship, We won it last year, so they literally have to come get the trophy from us if they want the thing. I censored myself because you think I'm a Valkyries fan. You wait and hear me talk about the hot shots. I'm rabid at the mouth about the hot shots.
Absolutely.
But they're lucky I'm announced every hot shots bout I can. Otherwise, they never shut me up.
And they performed like nobody's business at Battle on the Bank. It was
so
incredible to watch.
I was going to say, how about, you know what, we got this challenge. How about a cheer for your national champion,
Yes.
Arizona Hot Shots, huh? Anybody out there?
Hot
the Hot Shots
Shots
won the national title.
championship.
That's your Arizona All-Star team for the, yeah, well, we got a little applause.
Little
I
bit,
suppose.
little
That's
bit.
fine. Yeah, we tried, but, you know, give them some love in the chat anyway.
And
but
some of the players that are on the track tonight, right as we speak, are actually part of the Hot Shots team. So they skate for that team, and they also skate for their home team. So they're doing double duty.
Yep. Okay, so it was a points challenge. Here comes Chase and Voorhees, and we'll get the word.
And quick update, that challenge was actually unsuccessful, so the points will stand. It was a points challenge.
That is correct. So Doomsday Valkyries lose their first half challenge at this point. No more challenges till the second half for them. So Coach Castro's just got to park that flag in his pocket. What does he know about rules anyway? Am I right? Anyway, he's one of our referees. He refereed the entire roller rage tournament. That's in case you don't understand me. Anyway, back to it. Once again, Evil Twin for the Valkyries and Dolly Spartan for the Coffin Draggers, just as we left off. And
both jammers are looking for an opening there. Evil Twin gets bumped out onto the infield. Dolly Spartan kind of moving towards the front there.
Dolly goes right in between two blockers.
Yeah, pushes him right out of the way.
Excellent. Aggressive move by Dolly Spartan to clear space. Here comes Evil
Twin. Yeah. Twin is kind of on the tail there. Dolly Spartan hoping to get some points, looking back over her shoulder, as good jammer often does.
Dolly
gets bumped into the rail and then calls it off.
Dolly was not blocked up into the rail. I should probably not say that too many times. Dolly was blocked up into the rail. Ahem. By, thank you. Sorry. You know, there's again, like I said, live reads, everybody. I'm going to lose my job eventually. I'll tell you what. So,
no.
We have 1 point for the Coffin Draggers. They're excellent block, like we said, on the back end of the pack to prevent further points by Pretty Hurt Machine. So, and that's something we always say, like, blockers aren't just out there to, you know, hit people. Like, that was a direct subtraction of 3 points by Pretty Hurt Machine with that block. So you always watch that action in the pack.
Absolutely, yeah. They're there to often make a hole for their jammer to get through. That's a lot of what their job is. Right now we can see Strange for the Coffin Draggers kind of getting blocked up here by several Valkyries players. I think it's Remy Ruckus back there. Nikki Badass is back there. So they're doing a good job at holding them back. Hurricane May is also kind of stuck in the pack there too. So defense on both sides is looking really good.
We had the star pass forward to Murder Mittens.
Another
for
star
the
pass.
Yeah, another one.
I'm missing these left and right tonight.
Hurricane May right out behind and is trying to catch up right now. Murder Mittens. Murder Mittens gets absolutely. Oh my goodness, what a hit! Just one of those physics things. Nikki Badass just leaned down in the way, and Murder Mittens got all but clotheslined. Not intentionally, it just was the hit of it, but wow, what a collision. Murder Mittens up and sipping water on the bench like no big deal. That's why you wear a helmet, kids. What a hit. God, the force of that was incredible.
Yeah, let's talk about how impressive it was that they just got up like nothing happened.
Of course, yeah. It's really, like I said, what a hit. I'm checking the board, and yeah, nothing illegal about it. So, yeah, that's what you get to see in roller derby once in a while. So 2 points for the Coffin Draggers. It's 29-24. Valkyries are in front. We've had an official timeout to discuss perhaps some of those penalties. And during that timeout, we'd love to tell you about...
We've got so much to talk about. Let's talk about Siphon Draw Apothecary. All natural, non-toxic, handcrafted skin products made by our very own Dolly de los Muertos. I knew I was going to just trip over that one. Visit siphondraw.com for their incredible products. That's siphondraw.com.
You can also visit them in the historic Goldfield Ghost Town off Highway 88. Looks like the timeout is about to break up. So, but while that is getting back and set, no, they're going back to talk. Meanwhile, so then great. I would love to tell you about Tucci's Touch. Tucci was here at Roller Rage giving free 10-minute chair massages. I don't know if you remember that, but they were booked. They were booked out solid. Freya wanted one and had to kind of hang around and wait until somebody didn't show, and then kind of squeezed in like a 7-minute chair massage between people. And
well, Roller Rage,
yeah,
you definitely needed a chair massage during that.
Absolutely. So yeah, Tucci's Touch specializes in deep tissue, trigger point therapy, and much more. They are a licensed and trained and thoroughly good and really, really well trained massage technician. So look up Tucci's Touch on Facebook, one of our longtime sponsors here at the league, and works on a lot of skaters as well. We're back to the action.
And we've got Invader Slim for the Valkyries there towards the back of the pack, but All of You Die for the Draggers has gotten out, now coming around for some points. It looks like Slim's having a little bit of trouble there, kind of getting around. Some of their players are trying to help them along, but the Draggers are just kind of right there. Yeah, so looking really good.
Olive was blocked to the infield by Pretty Hurt Machine. Lightning the Queen is going to kind of scoot Olive down and at least slow Olive down on that scoring pass before she gets on through. There's 22 seconds left on the jam clock. Slim not out yet. Tries to stay upright, gets blocked, and it's kind of a time-consuming block to the infield by Murder Mittens. Now he's going to play defense or try to.
Yeah, Olive's looking to get some more points there, too, as they're coming through the pack. So we've got, 7 seconds left on the jam clock as Olive is trying to make it past the 2 blockers there for the Valkyries.
Checking in on the score for the Coffin Draggers. Coffin Draggers 9 points. Draggers jump back in front 33-32 here in this back and forth game. We're going to have Dolly Spartan at the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers and Huerta for the Doomsday Valkyries, and an official timeout signaled by Lollipop. So OTO to discuss that. We'll see if we still have the same skaters out there when we come back from that 2:10 to go. Draggers, like I said, just took the lead 33-32.
I don't know about you, but I've been smelling really good chicken for the entire evening, and it turns out that we have got an amazing food truck outside, all cooped up. They've got all kinds of chicken, apparently some amazing sauces. All I know is when the door opens, I smell it, and it smells fantastic. So give them a try if you are feeling a little peckish and need a little snack. And once again, the jammers are Muerta for Valkyries and also Dolly Spartan for Coffin Draggers.
Tightly bunched pack. Both jammers were up at the rail, and I don't think either of them noticed there was about 2-3 feet down there on the infield that were open.
Yeah, very tight pack there.
But then it kind of spread out again before anybody could take advantage. Muerta does get out for the Doomsday Valkyries. I should turn my microphone up this way so that people can actually hear me. It was just facing the wrong way.
Dolly's pushing their way through. The Valkyries players, it looks like getting a little bit of help from Scare and Jaeger there at the top of the pack, but still not able to get out, but does make it out now.
Yeah,
coming around.
Excellent block by Scare and Jaeger. I know you'd never call out Jaeger for a good block.
I don't.
Oh, no, absolutely. You're harder to please. Meanwhile, great block by Scare and Jaeger, and Suki goes, mid.
It's all right.
Mid at best.
They're okay.
Low block, high block, nah, mid block. L. Yeah, low block, no, it's an L block. You get a penalty and have to hang your head in shame. But anyway, we're looking down here. And 2 points for the Valkyries, so the Valkyries do hop back in front, 34-33.
A little bit of a personnel change. I'm wondering what's happening here because I don't see a Coffin Dragger jammer.
That's right. It's going to be a Valkyries power jam.
Go. Let's hear it for the Valkyries.
Have a power jam.
And
it is going to consume the first quarter clock, so this will take us to the end of the first quarter. And Hurricane May spun off and blocked to the infield. Excellent work by Embezzlement at the back of the pack.
Absolutely. I just noticed that. That was really good blocking. Obviously, the name of the game is to keep that jammer stuck in the pack during a power jam to lessen the damage to that scoreboard.
Coffin Draggers' defense so far is equal to the task. We got Murder Mittens out there as the pivot. 30 seconds left in the power jam. They are now finally able to get Hurricane May out. So May gets out, but wow, a lot of time eaten off the clock by that power jam defense. Special teams by the Coffin Draggers, very important here. May is going to get around the outside, this time with the pack staggered, is able to get through much more easily, and that was great. That time you can see the Valkyries execute their defensive strategy. May was going to come around, calls it off with time left on the clock. So
We got
Excellent
one more.
strategy. I said it would expire the clock. However, Hurricane May said that's why you don't play roller derby. Is because you don't think of things like saving time for one more jam in the quarter when your team is hot. And that's pretty much what they did. 5 points for the Valkyries on that power jam. May called it off, even though could have possibly gotten another scoring pass. Instead, calls it off. Why not set up an attack for that's an experienced skater move you see right there. So that's somebody who's been playing roller derby for a while.
Oh yeah, you definitely see the strategy in that. And we've got All of You Die and Invader Slim now taking this last jam of the quarter.
Slim is going to get hidden down to the infield.
Olive
Olive
is
around
out,
the outside.
yeah.
Indeed. Slim tried to get past before the front wall could reform and was not able to do so. Is now going to try to get past Murder Mittens, and Murder Mittens up into the rail, and then rides Slim down to the infield as well. Olive is trying to find an opening and does so. So All of You Die finishes off a scoring pass. There's 32 seconds left on the jam clock for the Coffin Draggers.
Yeah, that's plenty of time for Olive to collect some points here. Invader Slim is still at the back of the pack there, maybe looking to do a little jammer defense possibly. Olive just kind of skates right through the pack there, collecting some more points.
Olive has 15 seconds left, and this is going to be a very productive jam. There was only 2 blockers out there for the Valkyries, it would appear. Yeah, indeed. So that's been part of the problem that they've had, and this has sort of turned into almost a de facto power jam for the Coffin Draggers.
Yes.
All of You Die calls it off mid-pack, and that'll take us to the end of the first quarter. We will check on the score from the infield. It is now coming up from the infield, and it's the full 15 points on the power jam for the Coffin Draggers to take us up into the first quarter break. Coffin Draggers with a huge jam to take the lead by 9.
Very
48
successful
to 39.
jam.
Very successful. We'll step aside for 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We will be back at the beginning of the second quarter. We are back to the action. We have 15 minutes until halftime. Coffin Draggers 48, Doomsday Valkyries 39. And your first 2 jammers are Evil Twin for the Valkyries. And Evil Twin is out. She is, in fact, clear.
Yeah, Evil Twin is out. The jammer for the Coffin Draggers is Strange, although the star is suspiciously missing. Evil Twin's coming around. Strange is trying to get out of the pack here. Does so.
Yeah, does get out of the pack. Pack out of play. Blair Bitch had to put the arms up. So now Twin, trying to get what points she can, is going to fight through and call it off. Gets that whole scoring pass for the Doomsday Valkyries.
Yeah, Twin manages to get through there at the last second to gain some points for the Valkyries. Let's see how many. It looks like that was a 4-point jam for the Valkyries, so we're at 48-43 now.
Indeed. 14 minutes to go till halftime. Huerta for the Valkyries. Olive, you die for the Coffin Draggers. Olive gets routed off to the infield. Another defensive stand by Nikki Badass. Olive, though, quick, back up, trying to fight around the outside, but not able to do so. Frustrated, and the pack kind of reforms around Olive, who is now in the back of the pack somehow. Valkyries have a 4-3-4. Yep. Well, that's because it changed mid-sentence. That's what happens. Edit a 4-wall at the front of the pack. And there's Huerta finally out of the pack. 30 seconds to go in the jam.
Yeah, we've still got Olive Udai got kicked off onto the infield just now. She's looking to make a move here and get out of the pack, and does so as Huerta's coming around for a scoring pass.
So Olive gets out to try to keep this to the one attempt by Huerta, who gets blocked off to the infield and calls it off after reestablishing. We'll see if she got all 4 of those. Back and forth we go. Seemed like few people joining us for the first time, so I'm sure everybody's been watching at this point. I heard a jammer penalty on 131. It's a power jam for the Coffin Draggers.
Oh, Coffin Draggers fan, let's hear it. We got a power jam. Yes.
It was a 4-point jam for the Valkyries, 48-47, and here we go with the power jam. It's Dolly Spartan on the jammer line.
Dolly Spartan making a move here through the pack, trying to get some points for her team, making their way towards the top of this turn there. As Dolly's pushing back on the Valkyries players, there's actually quite a few of them right there at the front trying to hold Dolly back. Super important during a power jam because you don't want them to score, right? Dolly's just pushing away. The Valkyries are doing an amazing job at defense during this power jam. There's already half of it gone as Dolly's making their move, making out of the pack finally. Pack's looking to regroup. There's a lot of chit-chat going on with the Valkyries players. There's a 3-wall happening towards the front there. Lightning Nikki Badass as Dolly comes around very strategically trying to break that up. Does so, but gets bumped off into the infield. So Dolly's going to have to go towards the back there and try it again as they call it off. So excellent, excellent defense on the Valkyries' part to keep Dolly from not making as good of use as that power jam as they could have. So it was a 5-point power jam. So we're now at 53-47, 11 to go, 11:30 to go. A little bit of a personnel change there for the Draggers. And it looks like we've got Evil Twin on the line for the Valkyries. And I believe that's Strange for the Coffin Draggers. Everybody's getting into position. And off they go. Strange whipping their way through the pack. Evil Twin taking the high there and ends up coming out as the lead jammer. Really with some steam going there. Strange also working their way towards the front of the pack and does make it out. Twins keeping an eye on Strange, hoping that they can get some points before Strange actually makes it up to the pack. Lots of chattering going on here as Twins motioning to go, go, go. And Twin calls it off, getting blocked there by a couple of the Coffin Draggers skaters. Just waiting on the score here. All right, looks like that was a 3-point jam. So we're at 50-53. This is just so close. No idea how this is going to go. It's just a back and forth on this. And do we have an official timeout? I missed it. I was so focused on the score. We got a timeout or a challenge? I didn't see a challenge flag. Regardless, if you're interested in being part of roller derby, but hitting people isn't your thing, regulators are always looking for dedicated and eager minds to learn our rule set and help keep our skaters on the track safe. Our regular team is an open gender team, and there's various levels of officiating that go on during roller derby bouts. Come be a part of the action and help our league grow. Ask any skater or ref how to get involved. Okay, there's a lot going on right now. So there was an official timeout for the Valkyries, and now we've got Coffin Draggers flag. So we've got a lot going on here. There's going to be some chit-chat between the regulators to see what is happening. So we'll keep you in the loop as much as possible. But speaking of recruitment, if you're between the ages or know someone between the ages of 10 and 17 and they love to skate, Minor Assaults are looking for new skaters to join their team. Our coaches not only teach technique and knowledge of the sport, but they also build leadership, teamwork, and problem-solving skills that will help in life situations for beyond roller derby. Minor skating skills, dedication to learn, and a positive mental attitude are all we require. Come see what all the fun is about. Ask any Arizona Derby dame how to get involved. And just for some reference, a lot of our graduates of the Minor Assaults actually make it onto the adult team. So you'll see a lot of skaters that have been part of that program and have moved on. So it's very much a grassroots effort, bringing new skaters into the league during that process. And we still got the regulars that are chit-chatting a little bit about what's happening here, so we're just going to stand by and see what goes on with that.
All right, well, there you go. We have heard from the infield. That was a points challenge. Coffin Draggers were challenging the number of points awarded to the Valkyries. Challenge unsuccessful, points stand. So neither team has another challenge until the halftime break, and each team gets one after halftime. So 53-50 Coffin Draggers unchanged as we come out of the timeout. That's Hurricane May.
And all of you die for the Coffin Draggers.
Very, very tightly bunched pack. Once again, May saw the inside open and is just being blocked really, really effectively by Embezzlement. Ooh, M got hit in the face. I saw a hand go right up to the eye. There we go. Here goes Hurricane May. Gets out and clear, and May is out and skating smoothly for the Valkyries. 36 seconds left on the jam clock.
And we've seen some incredible defense by the Valkyries, particularly Nikki Badass and Remy Ruckus have been a really good duo in kind of helping their team keep back the other jammer, the Coffin Draggers jammer. And that is really what's happening right now. There's walls being built, there's teammates being held onto, and it's working.
May weaves through a staggered pack and gets through on her second scoring pass. Olive is now going to get past and fight clear, get past Muerta. Excellent defense by the Valkyries. Here comes May, full head of steam, excellent block by Embezzlement, but May bounces off it anyway. And not much more M could have done there. That was a perfectly executed block, and Hurricane May is just kind of that bouncy kind of jammer. However, we don't have a jammer out there for the Valkyries. Let's check this score, but it's going to be a power jam for the Coffin Draggers no matter what. The Valkyries hang 14 points on the board during that jam, so basically a power jam for the Valkyries, 64-53. They're in front by 11, and now we have a power jam coming up. It's a power jam for the Coffin Draggers, Dolly Spartan.
The Draggers have a real chance to actually make up some of those points right now with Dolly Spartan doing the power jam. They get bumped off into the infield, and then is working towards the front of the pack there, trying to get around those Valkyrie players to make the most out of this power jam. They do get out. Dolly gets out.
Yeah, I would say that was a good defensive start for the Valkyries there by far. Again, you 18 seconds off the power clock. If you can get that to 45, that's a pretty good defensive stand the first time around. Now Dolly is in there, getting points on the board, and still the Valkyries defense is standing strong. Dolly able to fight through a block by Nikki right in front of us. I mean, Dolly just ate up Nikki's elbow and just went on through like it was nothing, and that's hard to do, man. Oh, that's hard to do.
That's a very formidable elbow.
Yes.
So to get past it's pretty good. Oh, nice jump by Dolly Spartan to get past.
Gets past Lightning McQueen down there with the sliding block. Here comes Dolly. Enough time on the clock to get past the last blocker, so we'll get at least 2 points on that last scoring pass. So we will see. That could be enough to put the Draggers back in front by 1 point. It is 12 points. Coffin Draggers back in front by 1, 65-64. We're halfway to halftime in the second quarter. It's going to be an official timeout. Here
this is just more confirmation.
I know.
That one
so,
jam can
OTO,
make all the difference.
After a power jam, as I always said, I've watched enough. All right, we are back to the action. Once again, the Coffin Draggers have taken the lead, 65-64. They're going to send Strange to the jammer line, and your jammer for the Valkyries is going to be Evil Twin.
And Strange is off with a full head of steam right there, going towards the front of the pack, but ends up handing off the star, another star pass, a very successful one for the Coffin Draggers.
Twin has the star up as well for the Valkyries, and Murder Mittens tries to get through the pack and does so.
Oh, yeah, Murder Mittens
just
slid on right through there with that star, looking to score there. Evil Twin still at the back of the pack there. Murder Mittens just kind of coming through, just, okay, here we go. Coming up on Evil Twin.
Twin is looking over his shoulders, trying to keep from becoming that last point. Oh! Murder Mittens blocks Twin off to the infield. Twin had to... What a wait.
Wow.
So here's what happened. Let me explain what we just saw. Twin was racing to get back to the pack and stop from coming the jammer point. As they approached the pack, Twin had to put the star back on in order to score points. So Twin opted to take her eyes off, what was going on, and tried to get that. You have to take your hands up and pull it on it's elastic. It wants to come off. It doesn't want to stay on a smooth helmet. Trust me. You've seen enough of them just go zing and shoot up into the rafters. So Murder Mittens waited and basically forced Twin to make a decision. And the second Twin put her hands up, Murder Mittens blasted her into the infield mercilessly.
Yeah, that was perfectly timed.
What a chess match to watch.
Perfectly timed by Murder Mittens.
Wow. We are back to the action. Ended up being a 14-point power jam for the Coffin Draggers, 79-64. 6 minutes to go until halftime.
And we've got Muerta there for the Valkyries at the back of the pack there. It looks like Antifa and Scaren Jaeger are doing an excellent job holding them back, while, let's see, All of You Die is out for the Coffin Draggers and coming around.
That's right.
So Muerta's still kind of stuck back there, having some trouble. Nikki Badass is coming in to kind of help out a little bit there as Muerta does make it out of the pack. However, Olive is there to score some points.
Yeah, Muerta gets out to try to keep this to the one scoring attempt for Olive. Olive trying to get those hips in front of both Clutch Cannon and Nikki Badass at once by placing her hips in front of theirs and kind of dropping in between there. Rosie the Ripper decides to mimic the Thinker on the infield. That wasn't a fall. That was mimicking the Thinker. No. Meanwhile, that was a 2-point jam for the Valkyries, and we've got A power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Once again, another jammer penalty on the Valkyries. Doomsday, Dolly Parton, I can't think. Dolly Spartan is on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers, number 300. So
Dolly's going to take this power jam for them once again, going to the high there, but there's some Valkyrie players that are insisting otherwise.
Valkyries immediately switching to defense, and Dolly is now going to try to get around the outside, and those blockers are not out of play.
Not quite yet.
Not out of play.
Not
The blockers
yet.
stayed in play. They were able to keep that back wall, was able to keep the goat was able to fight far enough forward to stay in play. Finally, after 31 seconds, they yield, and Dolly Spartan gets out. Excellent defensive stand on the power D by the Valkyries.
Yeah, defense for the Valkyries has been so solid tonight. Dolly's coming around to hopefully score some points. There was a nice three wall there, kind of broke up a little bit. But you've got Lightning the Queen and Hurricane May. Very formidable there. Knocked Dolly Spartan off into the infield, so kind of slowing her down a little bit as there's only just a couple seconds left on that jam clock.
Yeah, so the Valkyries very successful in limiting that to one scoring attempt for Dolly Spartan. We will check and ensure. We'll see, did she get? Well then, Dolly did not get all 5 points. Dolly only got 4 of the 5. So another defensive +1 for the Doomsday Valkyries. One of those blockers was able to stay uncaught the entire time.
That's incredible for a power jam.
That is really impressive on when they were recycling the way they were. That's really impressive.
Yes.
We have an official timeout. Lollipop calling a timeout to things. Yeah, the Draggers had a chance there, being in front as they were, had a chance to really, really, really pile it on heading into halftime. And instead, they get a 4-point power jam. So a defensive statement by the Valkyries to keep this at 21 points.
And I'm going to go ahead and talk about food again. I think I'm hungry. So we've got All Cooped Up in Arizona, has American comfort food, specializing in hand-breaded chicken tenders with their scratch-made sauce. It's available boxed or as a wrap or a salad, and they also have dessert. Go check them out and come and tell me how tasty it is.
All right, we are back to the action. 85-64 Coffin Draggers. No change to the jammers out there. It's going to be Strange for the Coffin Draggers and Hurricane May for the Valkyries. One blocker for each team in the penalty box, and we're underway.
We got a little bumping and shoving there between Strange and May before they break up. Jaeger takes May off onto the infield, putting them at the back of the pack. While they're trying to get through, there's a really nice three-wall back there. Looks like Antifa, Embezzlement, and Jaeger. It looks like maybe Tifa broke off there to do some damage at the front of the pack. Strange takes a tumble on the infield, but's back up now and is the lead jammer for the Coffin Draggers. But Hurricane May is also out now, so we look like we have a little bit of a jammer race happening.
Yeah, Strange took a heck of a shot there, but managed to stay on the track and not fall off onto the coping and calls it off. Hurricane May flying in late. Hurricane May is rather famous for absolutely knowing, like, May will give up the body for points on the pursuit. This is a known thing, and May will, look out when May is coming in with the foot. It's like Leandro Barbosa when he was younger on the Suns, and he just put his head down, and you'd be like, oh, dude, don't. And he would just, run through everybody, and, that's... when I see May put the head down, I'm like, oh gosh, that's what it's like.
It's like a battering ram.
Hurricane May skates like a young Leandro Barbosa on the pursuit. I'm good at comparing things. That is Invader Slim that gets by along the inside, courtesy of a blocker coming off the track, and Slim is your lead jammer for the Valkyries. Getting out as well with the star in their hand and taking off is All of You Die for the Coffin Draggers. So here comes Slim up to the high side. Gets pinned to the rail. Great block at the back of the pack by Zora La Bruja. Checking. Zora actually got an arms penalty, so I'm prohibited from saying that was an excellent block since it attained a penalty. It was good until that point, and now apparently it's just an okay block since Zora got sent to the penalty box. I always feel bad giving somebody a compliment for a great block and then finding out they got penalized. I'm like, yeah, well, that's why I don't know what penalties are.
To us, it appeared to be a good block. Let's say it that way.
Hurricane May is your jammer for the Valkyries. That ended up being no points for either side, so it's still 87-66. Good forced call off, and May is going to tap dance over a blocker and get out for the Valkyries. 36 seconds left on the jam clock, and racing along and getting clear is Dolly Spartan. May runs up into a blocker and just bowls over that first blocker for the Valkyries. Hands up, staying balanced, gets by Skarenjager and calls it off. Yeah, May came into that blocker, got hunkered down, and May just had a leverage advantage there. Just a physics problem waiting to happen, and May solved it for X. They just hit that blocker and just overturned. And like I said, that's some of those fun ones when you see somebody waiting for a hit like that, and just with momentum and whatnot. I'm babbling because I love Derby so much.
You lost me at algebra.
Yeah,
when
I
you're talking about solving for X,
exactly.
We're done. Yeah,
right.
We're so done.
I know. I lost you at math apparently because algebra. Yes, you lost me at number. Me word. Sookie talking Smackhouse. Right, you're not Sookie Mathing Stackhouse.
I'm so not that.
No,
yes.
That's Evil Twin for the Valkyries
yeah.
as the quarter clock ticks down.
Strange for the Coffin Draggers. That's a very familiar duo on the jammer line.
Yeah, both of them fought in. Twin does get out. Oh, Twin gets out. Track Monster reaches up and gives the Coffin Draggers a wave, but Twin able to stay on the track and go on by. Quarter clock has expired, so we are at halftime. And so far, where are we at? The jammer for the Coffin Draggers is Strange. I was trying to find them. Oh, and we have a skater off the track. Evil Twin up off the track. Gets up, thumbs up. We soften down here.
Evil Twin.
And now has 7 seconds, 6 seconds. Still very much an active scorer. And is going to actually get points thereafter because those hips are in front of at least one skater. Hey, fans, you know when we say stay behind the yellow line, we mean it.
Yes.
The yellow line is roughly the width of a human body for a reason.
Mind the gap, as they say.
There we are.
Mind the gap.
So let's check on the points. 2. Evil Twin gets blocked off the track, gets back on the track, and gets 2 points. Those
I think
points
that
came
deserves
after
a
the
little
block.
bit of an applause there.
Look at that.
Yes.
Where else are you going to get that other than Bank Track Roller Derby? Knocked out of the facility, comes back in, and then gets points. I'm serious. All right, we are at halftime. Doomsday Valkyries get 2 on. Well, hang on a second. We're going to have a discussion, so let me hang this up. Okay, yeah, all right. They were checking. All right, sorry. Thought Lollipop is coming up to discuss score, which requires the referees to hang it up while they talk about that. That's privileged info. No. 87-72 Coffin Draggers. So, excellent action so far. Neither team to 100 in the early going. Back and forth. Coffin Draggers, a couple of big power jams. They're in front by a number of points. 15. Yeah, no, honestly, my brain is mush. It has been sent. I literally looked at 87 minus 72, and it took me how long? You can hear my brain making
Better you than me.
You can hear my brain making a dial tone sound. I'm just like, 87 minus 72 is doo. If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again. If you need help, hang up and dial the operator. That was me trying to solve that math problem. Meanwhile, dial tone boot up sound.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, the AOL sound.
Right.
That dial-up noise. If anybody's old enough to remember that dial-up noise.
I know, but you know what? It was loaded with such anticipation. It really was. I never minded it. The dial-up sound is like, oh, we're about to be on the internet. This is going to be great. You know, that's back when you couldn't just be on the internet. They say you're always online. You literally weren't. The internet came and went. It was a time, I'll tell you what.
It was. I agree.
Right.
And Sandy is looking at us like we're completely insane. We've
no,
gone
I know.
off the
no,
rails.
I'm fully aware of that.
Sorry.
We're talking for the audience.
We're talking for everybody here in the building.
I'm always only talking for me. Everybody knows that. I love the sound of my own voice. It's just here. I get to do it on a mic, and they give me free admission. It's fantastic. I'd be doing this at home. Freya Hugs would be like, would you stop? I am trying to will down this headache that I have that did not let me go to the bout, and they're probably not working. They said they were going to. See, I haven't stopped yet. I need to take a break. I'm supposed to be resting my voice. Music comes up like it's the Oscars. No, wait, I haven't thanked everybody. My dog. All right, I'm off. We're back to the action. It is the end of halftime. The Coffin Draggers are in front by 15 as we speak and are going to get lead jam first here in the first jam of the second half. That is Dolly Spartan for the Coffin Draggers.
And the Valkyries have Hurricane May, who's looking to get out, which they do.
May is going to put that star back on now for the Valkyries. Here's Dolly weaving through the pack and finishes it off, calls it off.
Successful scoring pass for the Coffin Draggers on that one by Dolly Spartan. And we've got Invader Slim for the Valkyries coming to the jammer line, as well as Strange. But we've got some yelling and some personnel changes and some other things happening.
We have personnel changes. 1 second, got to get off the mic. All right, we are back to the action. Everything is ready to go. It is a power jam for the Valkyries to start the action here in the third quarter. Let's hear it from the Valkyries fans in the audience. This is just what the doctor ordered for the Valkyries right here, is an opportunity to get a lot of points on the board and tighten up this lead, which is stretched out to 19 for the Coffin Draggers. And excellent strategy there. They kept that one skater blocked in the back and able to get those front blockers out of play. Hurricane May has 45 seconds with which to work on the power jam clock. They've got one skater goaded in the back. May is trying to press through at the front and gets a block down there in the bottom end. Excellent job by Pretty Hurt Machine with the pivot stripe on for the Valkyries. Here comes Hurricane May for a second scoring attempt.
Yeah, defense is doing a good job at making holes for May to kind of slither through here. Gets bumped off onto the infield, though, but Lightning the Queen comes out and bumps, it looks like, embezzlement off.
More good blocking on the front end there by the Coffin Draggers. Definitely slowing May. Now May is going to come up, and then May gets around and sees the clock. 5 seconds left, and May goes ahead and calls it off. Wasn't going to get back to the pack in her estimation. I would agree with that estimation. So, I definitely trust May's judgment on distance to cover while at speed. I think that she probably has a pretty good estimation of that. And yeah,
I would say so.
10-point power jam for the Valkyries, cuts that lead roughly in half. Roughly, I think I said we'll round down. 9 points now for the Coffin Draggers. Muerta at the jammer line for the Doomsday Valkyries.
And Strange for the Coffin Draggers.
And we got both stars off right at the outset, so that is going to be the flavor of the week. So definitely, we'll bring you those jammers right away, because that's Muerta around the outside is going to have to put that star back on, like we said.
And so is Strange, because they're coming out too.
Stars back on for both. Muerta wobbles and has to call it off. There you go. I'm going to mention that. That is a thing that is a thing, and I know this even though I'm not a skater. You got to put the star back on, and everything has an inherent risk. Every strategy that you try, if it was a net positive, everybody would do it all the time. So one of the things about taking the star off is you got to get it back on, and try doing that while skating on a severe incline, on wheels.
I've seen the stars drop.
You've seen stars drop, and that right there, you saw Muerta was doing it. Came out of the bank onto the straight, which is a different bank, and lost her balance when the track tilted. That is a direct result of trying to get that star back on and force the call off before Muerta could try for points. Anyhow.
But credit to Muerta that she had enough,
of course,
sense
and stayed
to go
upright.
ahead, stay upright, and also call it off before it became a problem.
Yeah, that's one where you got both jammers out now. All of you die in Invader Slim for the Valkyries. Olive up to the pack, calls it off with Invader Slim, forcing that at the back end. That won't be a full scoring pass. We'll check on it there in the back end. There were no points indeed on that. That was, again, like you said, great job by Muerta to have get it on there and then stay upright, call it off before falling to avoid what could have been a humongous jam at that point. We're going to have a power jam. No? That's what I thought. I was going to say it took a second for everybody else to realize it. 070 was the jammer. That was Invader Slim picking up a couple of late penalties, and it's going to be a power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Coffin Draggers put 2 points on the board in that jam and are up by 11, and the Draggers are going to look, as always, to get some points on the board here.
And it looks like Dolly Spartan is going to be taking the power jam for the Draggers again. This is actually what she's had several attempts at the power jam for the Draggers this evening.
That is right. The Valkyries it's primarily been how the Draggers have gotten most of their points is on the power jam. Again, I had so much fun tracking stats at Roller Rage. I wish I was looking at that, but I really feel like look out. Dolly Spartan almost out of the track, hit the kick rail and bounced back in. Great blocking on the front end, though. Remy Ruckus trying to get out of the way, but then was back in play and was able to slide down and block Dolly. At least I think back in play. If not, that was illegal. We'll see. 25 seconds left on the power jam clock. So far, good defense by the Valkyries.
Coffin Draggers trying to bust up that wall of Valkyries there at the top so they can get their jammer out. It's proving to be a little bit more difficult.
Remy Ruckus, wow, what a block by Remy. While being blocked, Remy gets a hip in the air and knocks Dolly Spartan off balance, who tumbles to the ground. What a block at the back of the pack by Remy Ruckus. My goodness, what a move. While being actively blocked, swung themselves around and got enough of Dolly. Thank you. I appreciate it. What a block, though. I mean, really, the blockers never get enough love in this sport or football or in hockey, for that matter. Everybody loves point scores. You know what? You love a guy that gets, 10 goals a year, but is out there, it doesn't affect the box score kind of stuff. I want to invent a stat that tracks blocks like that directly impact the end of a jam. I know I'm ranting about this, but that's me. I'm the son of an offensive lineman. Deal with it. 93-82 remains the score thanks to blocks like that.
It's a significant part of how the jammer gets out
absolutely.
And scores.
And it was a 0-point power jam for the Valkyries, so excellent all around. Like I said, directly, thanks to that block, that saved points for the Valkyries. That's your blocker scoring points for your team by subtraction right there. You could seriously just create that. I'll figure out something like that. I don't know. You give me long enough, I'll figure out a stat that you can track that'll quantify anything. I am numbers. We have, coming up now, no points for either side, but wait a second. No, we're going to have
these all draggers on the track? What's happening?
No skaters out there for the Valkyries. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll have to see if that works out for them. I'm sorry. I am contractually obligated by Infidel Castro to say that when I realize what he's doing, and I thought I did pretty good there because I rolled that right up until the whistle blew. That's a timeout by the Doomsday Valkyries. Infidel Castro will once in a while not field his team and then let the clock tick down all 30 seconds of the break and then call the timeout just before that would be a penalty. So he's got something up his sleeve. Yeah, right, exactly. It's as is commented, Infidel Castro, being an extremely experienced referee and longtime member of the regulators, took some time to coach this roller derby team, the Doomsday Valkyries, so he knows the rules, and he definitely knows how to bend them right up until they would break. And, maybe sometimes they break, and then he just kind of glues them back together real quick before nobody notices,
Oh, we have a regulators dance party happening, though. What's going on over there? Yes, yes.
So,
all right.
Anyhow, so
I'm entertained. I don't know about anybody else.
That's why I love having to say that. I have to explain why I drop into that. I don't repeat jokes otherwise. I've never consciously repeated a joke in 8 years of roller derby announcing. Test me. I have eidetic memory. So it kind of kills me that I have to say that when he does that. So ergo, I have to say at the end, I'm repeating this joke at the direction of Infidel Castro.
And now Orange is on the track along with the Coffin Draggers. So here we go. All of you die on the line for the Coffin Draggers and Hurricane May for the Valkyries.
Yeah, that's right. That was indeed a nice long timeout for the Valkyries to talk over what they were going to do here. Hurricane May has removed the star. Olive has not. May is trying to get either around the blockers or to the pivot, which is Muerta, and then May is going to duck around the inside. So good blocking by Muerta there. Good awareness to get those two blockers both tangled up and get May clear. Oh, and Muerta again on the front of the pack. Wow, great work with the pivot strike on by Muerta. Wow, excellent block. Knocked Olive off directionally. Let her take her own momentum through. I love defense, man. I love offensive defense or defensive offense, whatever you want to call it.
That was a good hit by Murder Mittens on May there. Oh, another one on May by Murder Mittens,
May's
too.
May's head just whipped around. Yeah, May slid all the way into the infield, and Ref Boy RD had to back up to avoid touching her, which I don't know. Can a referee catch a player? Who knows? We learn new things every day in Bank Track Roller Derby. May is up mid-pack and calls it off with All of You Die on the pursuit. No points for the Coffin Draggers. 4 points for the Valkyries. So 93-86. Right now, Coffin Draggers in front by 7 with 7.5 minutes to go until the end of this quarter.
And it looks like we have a new jammer for the Coffin Draggers up, and that is Skarin Jaeger. And we've got Invader Slim for the Valkyries. Both jammers heading out. Stars in place on the helmets. Invader Slim makes it out before Jaeger as lead jammer. Jaeger getting caught up a little bit by the Valkyries blockers there in the back as Slim is coming around to score some points. Jaeger there at the high, making a little bit of contact there with the Valkyries, but gets out as Slim is also kind of getting some opposition there from a couple of the Coffin Draggers. Not quite out on the infield, but then calls it off as Jaeger comes around.
Jaeger hot on the pursuit there. It looks like Slim got all 4 points. Slim did get all 4 points, so good job, good jammer awareness there to make sure they got in front of all of the skaters. It is 4 more points for the Valkyries, 93-90 Draggers in front.
Once again, we're just a few points away from each other on this one.
Underway in this quick-moving game here in the third quarter. And May to the front, able to withstand a block from Bedbugs Bunny and get clear. Good effort by Bugs on the front end. Here comes Strange with the full head of steam. This is going to be interesting. Here comes May back to the pack. Strange skates so fast and so aggressively on the pursuit. I love watching it. May up to the pack is going to coping jump along the inside and makes it a moot point. And
May got all the way through the pack on that one.
Bedbugs Bunny came up and with a fist up in the air and an aw shucks look on their face, tried to get in there and get that coping jump block, and it's just, you got to time it just right because you got to get the block and you have to not come off. So didn't come off, but wasn't able to close the door in time. And yeah, that's an interesting when you see that. 4 more for the Valkyries. Valkyries jump in front, 94-93. The Valkyries have taken the lead for the first time in the second half.
Evil Twin for Valkyries and All of You Die for the Draggers. Both are trying to seek their way out of the pack there. Fast-moving pack, definitely. Olive makes it out first as lead jammer, and it looks like Evil Twin is going up against Skarin Jaeger there at the front. Does a little spin move. Now is working against Dolly Spartan and Skarin Jaeger to get out of the pack, while Olive comes around for some points. Twin is still struggling against those Coffin Draggers.
Good block by Sherrills in the middle of the pack to knock all of you die to the infield. Once again, when you got a skater coming in fast like that, if you can clip them, their own momentum is going to take them well into the infield, and they're going to have to come back out well behind the blocker that knocked them off. So,
nice defensive effort on both parts there.
Ends up being a 5-point jam for the Coffin Draggers, and they jump back in front, 98-94. Pace yourself if you're drinking your favorite fizzy beverage. This is a close game. Penalties trickling in. What do we have? What do we have? We have a small pack with a 1-skater advantage for the Valkyries. We're down 2 Draggers and 1 Valkyrie. Hurricane May right along the inside. Right off the gun, the Valkyries were communicating there in the blocker box. Jammer now is at the back of the pack and tries to get out and gets knocked off to the infield and spun off. Got their star in their hand, I think, as May gets by along the inside. Is that Murder Mittens that's jamming for them?
It is Murder Mittens, yeah. Murder Mittens is trying to get through. Had the star off the head there.
Another great block by Remy Ruckus, just knocking Murder Mittens off to the infield. This is turning into a great scoring opportunity for the Valkyries. Here comes Hurricane May once again. Another big block down there, and a blocker down for the Coffin. It was Murder Mittens again. Hurricane May along the inside. There's 13 seconds left. This is technically a regular strength jam, and now Murder Mittens gets out. Hurricane May to the high side around those 2 blockers. And May is going to watch and wait and watch and then call it off. That should be a very successful regular strength jam. We got a team timeout. The Coffin Draggers are going to put an immediate stop to the action after that jam. It is a 19-point jam by the Doomsday Valkyries.
That is a big one. That's power jam level right there.
That was 3 passes, and then the 4th with the jammer already out. 19, not quite double headlights, but a 19-point regular strength jam. That is really impressive. That really busts the door open. That's really been the Valkyries' biggest power jam so far. The Dragger, not even, excuse me again.
That wasn't even a power jam.
Wasn't even a power jam. Really. That really, and again, we've seen from all sides tonight, these teams all 5 teams in the league are so well coached. Really well coached. You saw so many great executions earlier and things like that. You see Infidel Castro kind of fiddling with the rules a little bit, kind of here, there, a little dash of that when the judges aren't looking kind of thing, like when you're on Chopped, And it's like, you see that. You see, the Coffin Draggers, Grantula and Garabear have been coaching the Coffin Draggers forever. It's really fun to see these teams out there so well coached and see them executing game plans the way they do.
Yeah, because even with that 19-point jam, there's still so much room for the Coffin Draggers to come back. This is definitely going to be up until the last minute. I'm calling that. I'm predicting that.
During that 19-point jam for the Valkyries, the Coffin Draggers jammer picked up a penalty, and this is now an actual power jam for the Valkyries after they scored 19 points. What a turn of events. The star was already off. I am not sure if the jammer still has it. That's Evil Twin.
I believe Evil Twin does still have the star there, but is working their way around that 3 wall of Coffin Draggers to try and get out. Coffin Draggers doing a nice job at holding them back. Oh, yeah. Big hit.
What
that
a
was
block
Jaeger.
by Skarin Jaeger. Jaeger comes off, but it's okay. There were blockers in front. Jaeger just ended that threat of Evil Twin getting out of the pack. Excellent block by Skarin Jaeger, and I'll say it because Suki's not allowed to by contract. Meanwhile, there goes... Yeah, if you ever compliment Jaeger, I'm going to call you a homer. There goes Evil Twin. Tommy Heinsohn next to me. What am I doing? Evil Twin is going to run up to the pack now. So far, the Draggers' defense has been doing very well here on this power jam. They're going to limit this power jam to far fewer points than the regular jam before it, and that's just the way the pendulum can swing sometimes. Look at that. Just 2 points surrendered on that jam by the Coffin Draggers defense. And look at that. The Draggers now get a power jam in response. What a strange turn of events. We had a 19-point regular strength jam, then a 2-point power jam, and now another power jam because of that frustrated jammer not able to get out of the pack. So, with a little less than 2 minutes to go until the end of the third quarter, here's all of you die for the Coffin Draggers.
This could be a big jam for the Coffin Draggers as we're kind of going
absolutely.
into this last bit of the quarter.
Yeah, how important would that be if they were able to hold that power jam to 2 points and then rip off a bunch of points here? Draggers do lose one blocker now with a late penalty coming in. So even pack, 3-3. Olive up to the pack, tried to get in behind her pivot like a fullback, and Dolly was able to get one blocker cleared, but that's Lightning the Queen up there, getting her pinned to the rail. So Olive not out yet, kind of tries to shove Muerta out of the way, and now is surrounded by a couple of Valkyries. Gets a hand from Strange. Valkyries defense still up to the task. We're halfway through the power jam.
Yeah, great job for the Valkyries being able to hold Strange off as long as they have. Strange is still in the pack looking to get out. A little bit of regrouping happening here.
So now they have Muerta goaded at the back of the pack, and the front blockers have to
Sorry, I
relent.
meant holding off Olive, not holding
yeah.
off Strange. My
Yep.
apologies.
There's a lot of sixes down there floating
There's a lot
around.
of stuff happening.
So
yeah.
Olive does get out and is going to get one crack at a scoring pass here, but excellent defense by the Valkyries. And still not done, of course. Olive, well, we'll have to see when the call-off happened to see when the clock expired if Olive got all 5 of those points. Olive did get all 5 of those points. Coffin Draggers have jumped over 100 for the bout. 115-103. We've got an official timeout before what will most likely be our last jam of the third quarter. So I just score-checked you. I'll score-check you again. 115-103. Doomsday Valkyries are in front by 12 points at this point. This bout is back and forth. And don't forget, what's on the table? What is on the table here is an opportunity for the 1 seed. If the Valkyries win, they'll fight the Brides for the 1 seed on March 1st. If the Draggers win, the Draggers are still mathematically alive for the 1 seed if the Valkyries beat the Brides on March 1st. So both of these teams would like to beat, both of these teams want the Valkyries to beat the Brides on March 1st either way. If the Draggers do lose tonight, they're locked into the 3 seed. So that's where we're at. So we're either facing 2 undefeated teams fighting for the all-important 1 seed a month from tonight, or we're watching 2 teams fight for the 1 seed with a 3rd team based on math. If the Valkyries win it, they'd all be 3-1. Fascinating, really fascinating for an uber sports fan like me to watch. Like, I love when there's multiple things coming down and a team is like, but you know what they say, the Draggers got to win and get help is what they got to do, and they got 15 minutes and 36 seconds with which to win and then hope for help. So that's where the Draggers are at for the 1 seed. Win and get help, but they are still alive as of right now for the 1 seed. We will see what happens after this jam and another. After that OTO, lots of penalties. Lots of penalties. We have
It's
the
2
minimum
and
out
2
there
in
for
the
blockers.
pack.
Right.
Mofasta for the Coffin Draggers and Hurricane May, who's already out. Coming around to score some points for the Valkyries. Mofasa trying to go against Remy Ruckus up there, but gets by thanks to, I believe that's Antifa, that was helping out blocking.
So Mo does get out. Mo's going to try to keep this to 1 scoring pass. We've got Hurricane May is going to try to ensure she gets past that last blocker and is frantically trying to call it off. Weaving around, may have been blocked from view by the blocker. We'll see if points get awarded. They give 3 points. 3 points to the Coffin Draggers on the pursuit. That was again one of those timing things. You have to allow for the eyesight and then the motion and then the whistle. The refs keep a lung full of air, but it takes a second. So after that, it was just called off just in time to leave 1 more jam here in the third quarter. So it was 4 points for the Valkyries, 3 points for the Draggers, and Evil Twin gets out for the Valkyries here in the last jam of the third quarter. This time I'm sure.
All of you guys stuck at the back of the pack there with some Valkyrie players preventing them from moving forward as Twin does a nice jump. Nice little jump there. Perfectly timed. No momentum lost at all on this jam for them.
At the back of the pack, all of Udai is still goaded in thoroughly behind that 3 wall of blockers for the Valkyries. Shirley Temple of Doom. We've got Nikki Badass, and we've got, who's the third in there? Kansas
Lightning the
City
Queen.
coming by, yeah.
Yeah, Lightning the Queen's back
A
there
lot
as well.
of strong defenders out there. Blocked off to the infield is all of Udai. Once again, this time Twins having a little more trouble getting out. Zora La Bruja is going to get in there, and there I saw, ooh, look out. Somebody just got eliminated there along the infield. That was Bones getting up and getting back on the track to get back into the blocking action. All right. Well, that's going to give us a chance to slow down and catch our breath. The Valkyries close out that quarter strong. Valkyries came back from a halftime deficit to take the lead with about 3 minutes to go in the quarter, and then 2 very productive jams to close things out. Valkyries largely on the back of a humongous 19-point regular strength jam take the lead into the fourth quarter. In this battle for playoff positioning, Valkyries 129, Coffin Draggers 106. This is your last call for happy fizzy drinks. Go on down to the fizzy drink station and fill your fizzy drink cup. Last call. If you've had enough fizzy drinks already, be honest with yourself and don't go fill it again, all right? Seriously, think about it, all right? If you had enough, don't have FOMO. The fizzy drinks will be here next time. But if you want to, and if you're good, you know what I mean, you got a driver and whatnot, go ahead and go. We are back to the action. You heard that whistle. That means that we are back to the action, and we have your jammer is out already for the Coffin Draggers. That is Scary Jaeger. So your score as we enter the fourth quarter, 129-106. Valkyrie's biggest lead so far, 23 points. Now we've got Scary Jaeger trying to get around the outside and get slowed down just enough for the jammer to get out for the Valkyries. That's Invader Slim. Wonderful block on the front end by Embezzlement, just bowled over Lightning McQueen. Saw that right in front of us as well. And Slim on the pursuit forces the call off. So the Coffin Draggers begin the chiseling. 3 points for the Draggers. They are down by 20.
And we've got all of you die on the line for the Draggers and Hurricane May for the Valkyries. Little personnel changes there.
One blocker came down. Okay, so we got 2 Valkyries in the penalty box. So we got a pack advantage here for the Coffin Draggers. We'll see if that means they can get all of out quickly. Hurricane May, with the low number of available blockers, takes off the star but is prevented from getting it to the pivot as all the Coffin Draggers saw that coming. Yeah, you've got Coffin Draggers that are blocking out the pivot basically like the jammer, keeping that star pass from happening.
Yeah, both jammers took off that star right away, so it's kind of interesting to see what's happening with that. I can see Olive Dali has it in their hand at this moment.
Hurricane May takes off for the Valkyries, drops the star, tries to turn around and pick it up.
I just talked about the star dropping sometimes.
You saw that.
It does happen.
Had the star off, going into the corner, had it drop out of her hand, trying to get it on her head. That just came true.
It's a tricky star.
So now May, though, was able to get out, and May was lead jammer the whole time. And May rather emphatically signaling the call off that time. I get it. You know what? Your hot scorers are always going to think. They're always going to think they should have gotten a couple more points, or you know what I mean. I get it.
There's always more. There's always more.
All right, now we are after that. There was indeed a penalty on Hurricane May. That's why I took a breath and I was like, I wonder if that's going to be an illegal procedure. She was trying not to come to a complete stop and turn around and pick something up off the ground. That's hard. And so she turned around and picked it up, but had to surrender that penalty. So she is in the penalty box. Scary Jaeger on the power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Already not wearing the stars, so I thought I'd bring you that update. So is
Yeah.
now going to do
Looks
battle
like
up
Jaeger's
there.
looking
Yeah.
to do. Yep, and there's a
Right
successful
around,
pass.
hands it right around the left hip of Lightning, the queen, and gets it to Dolly Spartan. So Dolly's out and clear for the Coffin Draggers.
That was a very swift and successful star pass right there. So Dolly Spartan is going to be looking to score some points.
Lots of blockers out there for the Valkyries that are going to try to do something about this. The Valkyries did put 4 points on the board in that last jam. And the last time I glanced over, it wasn't updated. So it's a 24-point lead, not 20 at the moment. At the moment, I mean, however, here, come points, that'll be filtering in. Dolly takes a hard block from Sherrills right in front of us. Sliding block by Muerta down along the inside, and then Muerta makes a hand signal of some sort to Sherrills and Nikki Badass. I love things like that. Seeing a blocker come back on the track and then make a hand signal to the other two blockers, that's teamwork and coaching right there. Like I said, all 5 of our home teams are big on that. You'll see things like that. Silent hand signals rather than yelling. So again, like I said, that's how hard our teams work. This deep into the season, these teams have a pretty solid core of skaters. So love seeing things like that happening. Ends up being a 5-point jam for the Coffin Draggers. So good defense by the Valkyries, holding that to a 5-point power jam. 11:17 to go in the fourth quarter. Let me requote that time in 1 second. 11:11 to go in the fourth quarter. Love you, Deja Vu. That is Evil Twin for the Valkyries, and Twin's going to get out. Lightning is right out behind.
Oh, all of you die.
Twin sees it. I'm sorry, all of you die, not
all
Lightning.
of you die is out
Yeah.
there. It's a jammer race, and Evil Twin calls it off very smartly.
All right. Olive puts the hands up. Olive knows that she directly forced that call off. And when you see Olive windmilling the arms, you know that Olive is going in 8th gear. That is when Olive is really moving. So force the call off. No points for either side, and a quick jam. Definitely the best that the Coffin Draggers could have hoped for without getting lead jam there was a quick jam that they could force the call off of. 10:30 to go in regulation. Hurricane May for the Valkyries, Scaren Jaeger for the Coffin Draggers. This one starts off a little more slowly. May takes off the star and did not hand it to Muerta. May honestly faked the handoff, pulled it back. It was like a run-pass option in the NFL, had it in the running back's gut, then took it back and decided to run it herself.
A little bit of bait and switch there. Jaeger's out. Hurricane May on their tail, however, as both
Jaeger's
jammers
out.
are coming around.
May is going to watch. May is going to burn clock.
Watching, and calls it off.
May definitely watching the clock, so the Valkyries are already cognizant of trying to get time off the clock, which speaks to their confidence in their defense, really. I mean, that is really trusting in your defense to be having, a lead that is at 20 and already being, that's a strategic move. There's no question. If you were trying to, actively score points, May would have called that off 8 seconds sooner. So they are already working on playing the clock, which means they're confident they can hold. They're confident in the strategy if they're doing it. Let's put it like that. Meanwhile, in this jam, that is going to be Invader Slim for the Valkyries. Who we got for the Coffin Draggers? Mo Festa for the Coffin Draggers.
Yes.
I was asking Suki, but one of the referees replied. I appreciate it. Slim gets knocked up into the rail. Mo is going to go right at. Oh, goodness me. Mo was able to get by. I could not tell if that was Lightning or Sherrills, that it was Lightning at the front of the pack. And then ran into the next blocker and just got wiped out. What a hit by that second Valkyries blocker. Invader Slim gets out. Lead jam for the Valkyries. That's what the Valkyries want here, is lead jam and the ability to dictate the pace of play. If you get lead jam in roller derby, you can do whatever you want. That is when you get to enforce your will on the other team.
You're calling the shots at that point.
Absolutely.
Invader Slim is at the back there. Where did Mo Festa go? Mo Festa's still in the pack there. Invader Slim trying to make a break.
Absolutely. In the first game, you saw the other side of that coin. You saw the Beauties use that to their advantage. The Beauties only got lead jam a couple of times in the first quarter, and then as the game went on, they were getting lead jam more and more. Towards the end, it had totally flipped, and they were doing more of like a 3-to-1 ratio, and that's how they were able to climb back into the game. If you can secure lead jam more often than not, then you get to dictate where the game is going. You can steer it. So there we are. We're back to it. Valkyries tack on 7 more points onto the, not 7 more points, 4 more points onto the board. And once again, lead jam for the Doomsday Valkyries. What we were just talking about, Hurricane May out once again. Heavy rotation of the same jammers for both teams. Here comes All of You Die to cap this at 1 scoring pass. And that's
Hurricane
how you
May's making a
that.
rush there to kind of get, makes a jump, but then takes a little bit of a tumble and ends up calling it off, possibly before Olive got there.
I believe by the sound that that was the case, and that was indeed the case. So, 4 more points for the Valkyries, 7.5 minutes to go in regulation. Valkyries currently in front by 31 points. That is their largest lead to the moment.
And we've got Evil Twin on the line for the Valkyries and Scaren Jaeger for the Coffin Draggers.
Both of these skaters skated in the first bout. I'm not tired, as they say on the Scott Van Pelt show. My favorite thing on Scott. When Scott Van Pelt starts after midnight, that's his theme song. That's always my favorite. SVP, I love. I know nobody's watching this and knows who SVP is, but shout out SVP. Love you, man. That is, he replied to me once on Twitter, so we're friends. That's not parasocial. Here goes Scaren Jaeger around the outside, lead jammer for the Coffin
Evil
Draggers.
Twin is kind of stuck there at the back of the pack as Scaren Jaeger's coming around for some points.
Evil Twin is going to try to fight through. There's calls for a wall from the bench, and the Coffin Draggers heat it. And
Jaeger gets pushed off by Lightning the Queen, ends up on the infield, and time is done.
Was just about to update that Jaeger, of course, was mid-scoring pass, and Twin was not yet out. That was the difference between the two. There, one car was a lap down there. It was lap traffic that Jaeger was trying to get by. Jaeger gets all 5, 145, 119. There is going to be about 6 minutes flat to go in regulation when this whistle blows. There we go. Thanks, Lollipop. Appreciate the timing. Making me look good.
And we've got Strange for the Coffin Draggers and Hurricane May for the Valkyries.
And we had a star pass around there. Another one of those sneaky star passes.
That
taking
was
over.
sneaky.
That was. Oh, no. Zora LaBruja's going to fall. Did not call it off in time per the referee. Did not get the call off. Lead change. Hurricane May takes over. Gets blocked to the infield herself. Has to call it off. Wow.
That was crazy.
There you are. Like we say. Oh, sorry. Stoppage in play. All right, we are about to get back to the action. Little extended timeout there, injury timeout. It was Hurricane May that took a tumble down there in the back straightaway and goes down. Hurricane May picked up a penalty. So this is going to be a power jam upcoming for the Coffin Draggers. So good defense by the Coffin Draggers in that jam. Only 2 points surrendered. May did get those 2 points blasting in at the end after taking over lead jam from Zora La Bruja. We had a bang-bang play in front of us up here in the far turn. So there was no challenge by the Draggers, but still the referees came over to discuss it. That's why we stayed off the mic as long as we did, as Rosie the Ripper came by, chatted with the eye in the sky, and they still discussed it. And that's what honestly, the referees do. They review everything. If you ever think that they just show up and blow the whistle, trust me. They came over to talk about it, and that they'll talk more afterwards just to make sure everything was on the up and up. Like I said, the Draggers didn't challenge, so they didn't see enough to chance. Just like any other sport with challenges in the NFL, same thing. If you think you see enough evidence to challenge, you can, and that obviously was up here. I was 10 feet from it, as was Suki, and neither of us could tell if Zora had gotten it done in time. I almost came out of my seat looking to see if I heard a whistle. So it was extremely close, and the referees talked it over once again. Let's see what's going to happen. But yeah, so far looks like we're getting right back to the action. Such a close play, so instrumental too. Well, I mean, it ended up being only 2 points for May in an unfortunate way. And you hate to see that be the reason a jam comes to the end, but at least May is back up on her feet and was able to get back to
Absolutely. And yet another reason we have the medics on standby to help with those situations.
But that's another thing. You can't prepare for that sort of a thing. That could have been huge for the Valkyries to pick up a full 4 there. Instead, it's just 2. So, yeah, bang plays all around. It is a power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Extremely, extremely important time for this. And let's hear it from the Coffin Draggers in the stands, because your team could use your support right now. They are currently down by 28 points and trying to fight back into this. Strange.
Yeah, this could be a big moment for the Coffin Draggers.
Absolutely.
They really need to take advantage of this power jam.
Just the same, a chance for the defense of the Valkyries to shine, and so far they're up to it. Remy Ruckus, Lightning the Queen, and Nikki Badass at the front of the pack. Now the Draggers are struggling, trying to contain a goat, and the goat is going to push through Muerta. Strong Legs is going to power her way forward and break the goat. Strange
made a great move around Lightning the Queen there to get out of the pack. That was really slick.
There we go. We've got Dolly at the back of the pack that was basically doing a single goad strategy. So here comes Strange. We'll get one crack at a scoring pass. A block by Lightning is going to knock Strange to the infield. Strange has to get up, reestablish behind the blocker, and is going to do so with knowing that there's not a whole lot of time left on the clock. And the jam comes to a close. All right, official timeout continuing, getting everything squared away. The officials are continuing to talk down there in their straightaway. Yeah, it's just there's so many moving parts right now. Ended up being 2 points for the Coffin Draggers. Let's update you again. Our next bout here, as we're winding down, we'll tell you about the after party tonight. Your next bout, March 1st. This bout right here is going to determine the stakes thereof in that next bout. But playoff seeding is on the line. That bout is going to either be a bout for the 1 and 2 seeds or for the 1, 2, and 3 seeds, depending on how this last 353 goes. So that's March 1st. That is going to be the Draggers. Excuse me. That's the only team involved not skating. Good guess, Clofton. You know what? I swear. I never mind. I hear somebody behind me says, "What'd you do?" They're so used to me insulting myself on the mic, they want to know what mistake I made this time. Meanwhile, it's the Doomsday Valkyries versus the Runaway Brides on March 1st. The Brides are already 3-0. The Valkyries trying to stay undefeated and join them at 3-0 atop the standings. Or, if the Draggers are able to overcome this deficit and pull off the win, it is going to be both of these teams. Excuse me. The Draggers would be at 3-1. The Valkyries would be at 2-1. And then if the Valkyries beat the Brides, the Draggers would still be mathematically alive, depending on tiebreakers for the 1 seed. So let me see again, I wanted to run that all through. Nobody's eliminated, but playoff scenarios abound, and once again, the 1 seed gets an express pass into the championship bout. The other 4 teams do a round-robin tournament. We have coaches approaching head referee Mama Seidel at this moment.
Also happening that night is a minor assaults bout as well. So come for the Runaway Brides and Valkyries game and stay for the minor assaults. All right, it looks like we have a Valkyries power jam.
We have a power jam for the Valkyries after that entire timeout process, and they got all the penalties sorted out. And it's Hurricane May for the Valkyries on the jammer line now, and is able to get around that last blocker and get clear. So the Valkyries really with a chance to not necessarily even score a lot of points here, but run 90 whole seconds off the clock. So going to hang a Valkyries jersey on the time clock at this moment. The blockers for the Draggers are doing everything they can. An excellent job there on the front of the pack by that blocker whose back is to me, as it should be. That was Antifa out there. Excellent, really good job. Just gets better the longer this pack comes back together. Antifa single-handedly stopping May, allowed the blockers to get back together. So defensive strategy, 12 seconds to go in the power jam. Hurricane May's trying to get by. Still a 2-wall. Zora LaBruja is up there.
And
Scary
the pack
Jaeger
is moving so fast, too, which
Very
is also
fast.
working against Hurricane May getting out.
Yes. The clock is going to expire. Excellent power jam defense by the Coffin Draggers.
Absolutely.
No question, keeping their team in this game here in the late going. Only 5 points for the Valkyries. It keeps the lead at 31.
And considering that May had that 19-point
Yes.
jam
Yes.
earlier, 5 points
Absolutely.
is incredible as far
What
as
defense, and at
for
a
Coffin
crucial
Draggers.
time here in the late going. There's going to be 2:40 to go when this whistle blows, roughly. A little less, more like 2:30 to go as we have a late penalty coming in. We now have All of You Die for the Coffin Draggers on the jammer line. And for the Valkyries, it's Invaders Slim once more.
Both jammers go to the high there, but All of You Die ends up.
And we're going to have another stoppage in play. All right, we are going to get back to the action. The injury timeout has subsided. At the moment, they are over at the bench still kneeling around All of You Die. All officials are talking at the front of the bench. Olive did get back to the bench and is being treated by the medics right now as that continues. Taking a look at the ankle. The report we got from up here, I was going to kind of chime in and fill that in for everybody, is that looked like Olive was up against the kick plate. It's a kick rail at the stage. It's a kick plate here. Sorry. Well, you know, I guess sometimes I drop into long-form improv, and I had 2 shows last night. So the kick rail is what keeps me from falling off the back of the stage. Tee-hee! You know, yeah, no, honestly, Clofton P. Grudge is the guy. No, still tending to Olive. Let me tone this down just a second. They're still looking at Olive over there. Everybody's still taking a breather. Olive was starting off, was the jammer for the Coffin Draggers. We hadn't even gotten to that yet, and it looked like Blair Bitch number 98 for the Valkyries got knocked into Olive and fell on Olive's ankle. up against the kick rail. Ankle and lower leg, we should say, not necessarily ankle, but lower leg, which was so Olive hopped down off the track and back at the bench now. So we're all good to go with that. It looks like the timeout is about to subside. So like we said, always good to see our skaters able to get back to the dimension of their own power, going to get treated there. I would feel fairly certain with 1:54 to go that we've seen the last of all of you die tonight. So we hope that that injury, however, was just as minor as the one that May suffered. May back out there and jamming once again. There we are. Olive gets up off the ground and helped up onto the bench. Went ahead and gave you the standard update. Usually you wait for the applause break when you're a roller derby announcer, but a little discretion sometimes occasionally once it becomes evident that it looks like everything's going to be fine. Plus, you know, the officials had also separated. So there go James and Jace back to their chairs. We said once again, we love our medics. We love it. All right, Blair Bitch gets an illegal block. So I would say that when you land on, no, that's not what happened, but it apparently was an illegal block. So in that extremely quick jam, Blair Bitch picks up a penalty. No points for either side. And we'll move forward. Strategically speaking, Suki, honestly, that worked out for the Draggers because the Valkyries were going to get out. Olive was really not going. The Valkyries were going to get lead before Olive was injured. So that forced a quick call off. So that saved them losing lead jam, as we mentioned, lead being so important. Bedbugs Bunny is out there for the Draggers. Bedbugs Bunny, lead jammer for the Coffin Draggers. So there we go.
And Hurricane May is there towards the back of the pack for Valkyries. Stars off, but we're not seeing any movement there. So
the Draggers got some work to do.
Yes.
And May is going to get out, so that'll cap this to one scoring attempt for Bedbugs Bunny, which is what the Valkyries wanted, if not getting lead. Bugs, wow, what skating.
Yeah.
Clings to the inside coping on one skate.
That was excellent balance
wow.
there, Bunny.
What a skate by Bugs. Way to make hay on your first jam of the night. Quickly calls it off. That leaves time for possibly 2 more regulation jams. Depending on we will have at least 2 more regulation jams, maybe even 3, depending on how fast these go. Another first-time jammer for the Coffin Draggers. Bones! Rickety Bones is at the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
And we've got Evil Twin on the line, no stranger to the jammer line for the Valkyries.
All right, we're under a minute to go on the game clock. Oh, goodness, the game clock and the jam clock are equal, so they will have to call this early for there to be another jam. This can be the last jam of the game. I wanted to clarify that. Jam clock and game clock are equal. Bones is out for the Coffin Draggers. They will have to. Bones gets knocked off to the infield. I am sure the teams are cognizant of that. And so it's not like we're giving away any secrets, but just for the fans' sake, Coffin Draggers are going to have to call this early in order to get another jam. So clock management is crucial at this second. They're going to still try to struggle and get Bones out if at all possible. I think I just heard a jammer penalty, but I don't know on who, so we'll have to find out. Bones gets blocked off by Lightning. Great job by Lightning to block Bones off, and Bones is going to go ahead and call it off at that point. Wow, what a whole lot of action coming in there at the late. The game clock expires, but there is time for one more regulation jam. We're going to check on the points from the infield. It's going to be a team timeout signaled. What kind of timeout do we have? There we are. Team timeout, Doomsday Valkyries. So Infidel Castro pulled the old bold strategy cotton trick one time, not in the mood for games. Goes ahead and calls that timeout in the regular time frame. We do have our winners for the silent auction. We'll get to those here once the game is wrapped up. I don't want to take too much time from the game action here. We have 152-130 is your score at the moment. There is no time on the regulation clock. We have one more regulation jam. 22-point lead for the Doomsday Valkyries. Let's see what develops here. Last jam of regulation, and we'll see about penalty jams thereafter. Playoff seeding on the line. The Coffin Draggers need to win in order to still be in play for the 1 seed. If not, it'll be the Valkyries and the Brides with all the marbles on the line, an undefeated regular season and the 1 seed in the playoffs, and a chance to sit back and sip pina coladas and watch the round robin tournament the second weekend of April.
Oh, okay. I haven't done this yet, so I wasn't sure what was happening.
Here we are, Lollipop looking at the stopwatch and ready to go. Once again, last jam of regulation. Coffin Draggers are at a pack disadvantage. That does not help. Coffin Draggers have 2 skaters in the penalty box. Valkyries are at full strength. Let's hear it from both fan bases here at the last part of this game. Here's Hurricane May, and the Valkyries immediately get lead jam, and Hurricane May calls it off. That was the strategy from the outset. The Valkyries wanted to get lead jam and call it before anybody can get a penalty and prevent penalty jam. So let's check from the infield.
You got to keep it clean during these last jams.
Let's see if that's going to do it, or if there will, in fact, somehow be a penalty jam in that very brief time, which there can. People went down.
They're
It's
definitely,
entirely
well, we just
possible.
saw in the last game there were some penalty jams that
That's
happened
right.
at the end. So you never know.
Everybody's checking. No points for either side. Still checking. Officials still talking. Still waiting to see if there might be a chance of a penalty jam. Stepping out. Now stepping out trackside. And with this whistle, that's going to do it. Your final score, 152-130. Valhalla calls! The Doomsday Valkyries remain undefeated on the season. Set your calendars. March 1st, Runaway Brides versus Doomsday Valkyries. Both 3-0, fighting for the first seed in the playoffs in an undefeated season. Nobody's beat the Brides in years. Everything is on the line for playoff seeding on March 1st. And let's hear it also for the Coffin Draggers. In it throughout, the Draggers will be coming around here momentarily. I got a little ahead of myself. The high five line was far too thick. Hold on.
We're getting there.
Now
We're
let's
getting
hear it
there.
for the
Now
Coffin Draggers, by
Draggers.
golly. Coffin Draggers in this thing throughout, tight bout throughout.
Well
Valkyries
fought
able to
game.
put some points.
Appreciate
Olive
their
Udai
effort.
is out there on one leg doing the high. Olive, get off the freaking track. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. Thank you. Olive got off the freaking track. I appreciate
Take care
it.
of that leg, ankle. Take
I
care
thought
of that.
Olive was going to do the whole circuit on one
I
foot,
thought
which
so
Olive
too.
would.
Yes,
Which Olive would,
absolutely.
indeed. All right, that is going to wrap that game up. 152-130. Valkyries are victorious, as we said. So that crystallizes the bottom of the playoff standings. Your 3 seed is the Coffin Draggers, finishing the season at 2-2. Your 4 seed is the Bombshells, finishing the season at 1-3. And your 5 seed is the Beauties, who ended up 0-4. And of course, that means nothing. That means nothing. The Beauties can get hot during the round robin tournament. And
Absolutely.
honestly, it's just playoff seeding at this point. And everybody's played everybody. Everybody's familiar. Every matchup in the playoffs is going to be a rematch. So I love it. I love this format. Like I said, one more time, Draggers 3rd. You got your Bombshells and your Beauties 4th and 5th. So the Doomsday Valkyries versus the Runaway Brides for everything on March 1st. Not just 1st and 2nd seed, but free reign into the championship bout in May. Time off to rest, don't have to skate. The 1 seed is everything, and we have left ourselves like we flex scheduled it in the NFL and put really good games on Sunday night. We left ourselves one heck of a bout for the last bout of the season.
Oh, yeah. So basically, you need to be here for that one. You need to be here.
I am looking forward to that as a fan, and not just as an announcer. If they had 2 announcers, I'd do stats for that game. Well, no, I couldn't. I have to announce the Valkyries bouts. That's required. However, our next bout, like I said, next home team bout, March 1st, right here, 5 p.m., Chingadera. A 3rd weekend of the month, and we've got our prizes to give away. Thanks, Suki. Would you like to announce those? I can announce them. Yeah, I guess we just announced names. So we'll start with the Rhea Riot tattoo. You, of course, don't need to be present to win, but if you are, let us know, all right? The Rhea Riot tattoo, $300 value, is going to be given away to Nar. Nar, you won the Rhea Riot tattoo, $130. Cool.
And the Tempe gift card bundle is Dan.
Dan wins the Tempe gift card.